Hello. Hello. I guess we can start with Jerome, I'm doing your job right now, but I just don't know. Eventually, we're going to change to the side-by-side settings. There we go. Hi, everybody. This is Brooke with Certified Life Coach Institute. We are here with another certified or CLCI Live. And today we have special guest, Mike James with us. Mike, do you want to come on up and introduce yourself? Oh, no.
Mike freezing. Let me know when you hear me fine.
Is it Jerome? Is Mike frozen for you? Is it just me?
Yeah, nope. Mike's definitely frozen.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, we're gonna let them, if you could just go back to highlight me, we will let everybody sort of figure out. We have somebody else coming up too.
Let me check on my internet.
Jen is also going to join us, but both are having internet issues today. So, I think Mike is back.
I do believe Mike is back. Yeah.
He's moving. Yay. Come on back, Mike.
Listen, the whole time over here moving and saying, oh, you said, oh no, so I'm freezing. Sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. I'm happy to be here. I'm Mike James, one of the facilitators here with CLCI. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a good one for not only just coaches, but potential. And this is good for, and this is something I say in class, this is what we're going to be talking about. It's just good for your everyday communication as well. So I'm happy to talk about this one, Brooke.
We love communicating. We really do. So our topic today is coaching through obstacles. And we've got three in particular obstacles that Mike has picked out. But before he gets into that, I just want to, if you're watching this, please remind you to like and subscribe and comment, join in the conversation. We would love to hear from you while you are watching us here. And also be sure to subscribe and like, so that way you know when we go live, and also it helps support us and it lets us know that you like what we are doing. So I'll introduce the first topic. So we're talking about obstacles. These are pretty common obstacles that come up for coaches. And the first one we're talking about is one that is, I think, very often something we hear. And it's this, I don't know, right? It's what happens when your client, you ask a question and the client says, I don't know. And I'm going to kick it over to Mike here so that he can take over and start to speak into that.
Yeah. Oh, the three words that you don't want to hear in the coaching space. I always share in class, Brooke, I say, especially when I started out, if there was any three words that I didn't want to hear, it was the I don't know, right? And so I think this is something I say now, it took time and repetition, right? But I think those three words, just before we talk about some of the things and the tips and tricks out there, I would say from just a foundational level, I don't know doesn't always mean I don't know. So I think that's the first thing that can just give us a breath of fresh air to like, okay, which two of my favorite words for anybody who's watching this, who's taking the class with me, or anybody who I say two of my favorite words in the coaching space is slow down. So it's the first thing that helps us to just slow down, right? That I don't know could be loaded. And what I mean by that I don't know could be, hey, Brooke, nobody else, you're the first person to ask me a question like that. So I wasn't ready, right? I haven't thought of that. I don't know, that initial response. The I don't know it could also be one of those things where, okay, now I have the space to think about this, where something I've been pushing to the back burner or on the shelf, right? So just at a surface level, I think the first thing is just that it's okay when we hear that I don't know. And again, we're talking about coaching, but just in your everyday communication, it doesn't necessarily mean, in fact, I don't know. So I would say the first thing for me, Brooke, is just to slow down, take a breath, and just sit for a moment, right? That I don't know, it's like a caution light. It's not the red light. Oh, the coaching session is over. It's done. We can't go anywhere. I think it's a caution light. So now I slow down to see what it means. So that's the first thing I would say in terms of how I would treat that I don't know.
And speaking into that, Mike, one of the things that you brought up is that slow down. And I think that what we don't realize is sometimes that I don't know is a filler word, right? It might also be a way of saying, I haven't thought about that, or I don't know yet. It's this moment where, oh shoot, right now I don't know, but that doesn't mean that the answer isn't just around the corner, right? So like you said, sometimes giving them that beat, that break, that moment will give them the chance to figure out, well, maybe I do know. A lot of times I have had clients who say, I don't know. And then next thing you know, you're quiet and suddenly they do know. Jen has joined us really quick, Mike, before we get back into the I don't know. Let's check in with Jen. Actually, she looks like she's still working on some stuff.
It's still setting up, coming in. But yeah, so Brooke, you just said something too that I think is kind of one of those first step type things. After we don't overreact to the I don't know, you said something beautiful. You said, and then the next thing you know, oh, they think about it. So I think that's one of the first steps. There was an article ICF published about steps in terms of what you do when a client says, I don't know. If any coach researches this, whether it's YouTube, rabbit hole, whatever it is, one of the first steps is always going to be silence. Right? Not the initial response of so I've already said slow down, right? It's the caution light, not a red light. It doesn't mean the conversation is done. We're at the destination. But I think the first thing is just the silence, just waiting to see. Because and this is something often just in your everyday communication and coaching, especially for the coaches out there, the soon to be coaches. When someone stops speaking, they're still processing that conversation. They're processing the information. So that silence, it gives a lot of breath. It gives a lot of breath to that I don't know. So that's literally one of the first steps you see, no matter where you look for steps and things like that. And that's one of the first things that I say in class as well. Wait, that silence. Say nothing first before you jump back in. You don't know. Well, can I tell you? So I would say that's the first step.
Jen, do you have any thoughts on coaching the I don't know since you're with us now?
I do, if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Oh God, I've been having terrible tech difficulties. But yes, so I don't know I love how Mike framed it as a yellow light, not a red light. Because that's exactly what it is. It's a slow down. It's a don't speed up. It's stay right with them. There's nothing wrong with I don't know. I don't know is a legitimate answer for most people on most things when they're questioned. And so the silence is very powerful. I call it putting them in the pressure cooker. There's really no other time in life that we get that. When we are in conversation with people in other areas of our life, nobody's letting us sit in silence. They are immediately trying to help us. They are immediately trying to save us. They are immediately trying to fix us. So the silence is so useful. And it also signals to the client that you believe in them, that you hold them capable in that moment of really thinking, of really sitting with whatever the question is and going deeper and trying and being willing to say whatever comes up for them without judgment. And they might need that encouragement. Sometimes it's, if there's no wrong answers here and you just, whatever comes up, you want to throw out, no judgment. What is that? Sometimes they need that. And that can be really powerful.
So if and I know there is no one turnkey answer. I know there is no right question. There is no right way to respond. So far, I've heard it is to just meet the client where they're at. It's to be there. It's to give them time, give them breath, give them space. What is something a coach could ask if they're still saying, I don't know, and they're not coming to that answer? Like what specifically would you say in that moment, in that case?
Yeah, I think Jen started one of the things, right? Because after we slow down and we realize that, oh my God, it's not the end of the world, end of the conversation, we can go through this caution light or this intersection. Then when we give that silence, the next thing is now we start to, what I say is dissect or peel the layers back from the onion of the I don't know, right? Tell me a little bit more about what you don't know. Jen gave a good one where it's like, if you could say anything right now, no wrong answers, no, we won't put any kind of label on whatever you say next. What would it be, right? If you had any idea. So now I like to look at all angles of the I don't know. Tell me more about what you don't know. I say this a lot in class. I love the opposites game in a coaching conversation. Tell me what you do know in this moment about the conversation, about the situation we're talking about, because I can tell you what, if I don't know how to get out of this problem, I can tell you all the reasons why I don't like the problem right now. So sometimes it's just about now, let's look at all the angles of this. And so, like I say, the next thing I like to do is kind of investigate and just tear apart, go deeper. Then, the I don't know. Tell me what that means right now. If you did know, what could that look like? So those are just a few of the ones where I think about now. I hear that after I've slowed down and gave you the space, because I love what Jen said too. And I hope, especially for the coaches that are starting out, hear that, because part of that, giving them that space to be in the I don't know, that's honoring your client. That's creating that safe space, what we talk about so much. So now we just start investigating. So that's what I would say is now we start going deeper than just the 3 words. What do they mean?
And Jen, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I like, so what is it like for you to not know that? I kind of like to go a deeper dive question there. What is it like is a good question because it invites them to share thoughts or feelings. So it's a good question for either a thinker or a feeler. It typically will land with either of them. I also like, how might not knowing be serving you, or how might not knowing be useful for you right now? And I always bring it into the moment of right now. Maybe there is something there. So I typically would look into maybe how is it serving them, or how is it useful? That's something I might do. Also I might just say, okay, I've got time, and just give them that moment to think deeper about it. Sometimes they need more time than just hearing the initial question than, immediately answering. So it might just be a matter of, okay, I've got time. Think about it. What comes up? And just, again, there's a silence, but just encouraging them to continue thinking. There's lots of different things, especially according to ICF. There's a nice list of 12 different things. We should probably drop this in the chat for people because it's good. I love, to be honest with you, I love the opposites of, so what do you know? I think that one's really powerful too. So those are probably my go-tos, but I would say silence, the pressure cooker, is my favorite.
Jen, I like that too. I love the way Jen went into that question as well, because that was kind of twofold. It was the safe space, right? But it's also almost a gentle nudge. Like when you said, okay, I have time. And this is something I say in class all the time as well. And for coaches, I don't know, everybody watching, if you pay attention to Jen's tone and pacing when she did that, because you can say, okay, I got time, take your time. I still feel rushed. It's like you're telling me you got time, but you're rushing me. Okay, I have time. Think about it. It's almost like, wow, you're slowing down. You're showing me that you have time. You're not rushing me. And then you're giving me the space to come up with it and fill in the gap. And this is something I heard so many times from different coaches and mentors and things when I was just starting. If you invite them, then shush. Wait, make sure you give them the space, because the minute you go back in, okay, well, now I feel rushed again, or in fact, you don't have time, Jen. So yeah, I think that's beautiful because it's twofold. It creates a safe space still, but you're honoring them, but it's almost that encouragement of like, okay, we have time for you to think about it. I'm not going to do what your everyday conversations, your friend, family, coworker. Again, going back to where we started and what Jen said, this is not your everyday conversations, because I can guarantee you when you have a problem, issue, or challenge in your everyday conversations, you're probably getting shoulded on immediately. You should do this. You should do that. Oh my God, Mike, you're amazing. You should give clients in the coaching space a different conversation. I think that's where coaching is so beautiful. So I love that. One other one I'll add too, and this was in the 12 that the ICF shared and said in a different way than what I use it, giving them a different perspective. If I'm in the muck, I can't see, the forest through the trees. But if you give a different vantage point, so I think the ICF uses like a helicopter. But I'll say, if you were from a bird's eye view looking in, or sometimes you can just reverse the role of authority. If this was your friend coming to you with this issue, or if you were outside looking in, what would you tell? What would Mike say to you in this moment, right? And so giving them a different vantage point, because now they get to stop just focusing on the problem. And it's like, oh, now they become the best friend. They become the family member. They become the coworker, and they get to should all over themselves. And then you wait. Okay, so now how do you receive that? So that's another one I like too. And like, I think the ICF had this beautiful example of like the helicopter. If you were to fly over, what would you be observing, and the I don't know and all of that. So it's a lot of ways where you can expand that, where you're giving a different vantage point or perspective for the client as well.
I think Lisa likes to use fly on the wall as well for that. So I am going to move us forward to the next topic, y'all. What I did do is I dropped that article, that 12 ways to coach clients through I don't know, in the comments. So if you are watching, that article is there for you if you want to do a deeper dive into how to coach I don't know. So we're going to move into our second one, which is how to coach when you don't know. And what that means essentially is how to coach a topic that you as a coach are not familiar with. It's something that is completely foreign to you. And I think I know the answers here, but I'm going to go ahead and let our two experts take over. So Jen or Mike, does one of you want to field this one first? Do we have any volunteers? I got to see.
Jen, you want to take it? So, mine's simple. Mine's real simple. It's like what I say in classes, coaches, tap your toe in and get back out. Mine's simple. I say this, and I truly believe it. And a lot of times I think, when we do demos, I think sometimes a volunteer will take me to the task of this. I love when I don't know about, when I'm not an expert in the thing, right? Now, of course, you have your niche and you're going to market and you're going to attract those clients. But I really do like sometimes when it's something I don't know anything about, because now I don't even have to quiet the answers that are coming up in my mind. I don't even have to slow Mike down, because it's like, hey, now I can truly sit in this space of coaching and not knowing and help guide you and maybe remove some blinders and ask those, powerful questions that can help you get there. So for me, I really think when it's a topic that's unfamiliar to me or something that I don't know, that's where I really lean into my curiosity and I start asking those questions. Hey, you know what? Tell me more about that, because I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with that thing. So now it allows them, they become the expert. They start telling you, and we can get to the point, okay, what is that gap? And once we get to what is that gap and their knowledge of this thing they're doing or what they're wanting to do, it goes right back to me being comfortable with those coaching questions where I explore. So the short answer for me is I actually kind of like, it goes back to the same way. I think we'll cover all three of these main topics that we're talking about with coaching through obstacles. Number one, slow down, take a breath, right? And this is another little thing that I tell coaches: energy. Your clients feel energy just like you do. You ever talk to someone and their confidence is just shot, but they try to talk through it and you feel it? So for us as coaches, when you get to those places, the bumps in the road in the session, first thing is slow down. I take a breath. So for me, that's an invitation to me to, hey, let's work on this together. So that would kind of be my short and sweet but long answer to that.
Okay, I love this one so much. I actually agree with Mike. I like it when I don't know, and I see it as a really good opportunity to be fully present and stay out of my own head and out of my own thoughts that come up. So I really lean into the idea that it's okay for me to not know. And that's what coaching is about. I don't need to know to help guide them in this conversation. And so I was just thinking about it, but what are the main things that I would lean into? And there's 3 of them. And this just came to me. I've never said this out loud before, so we'll see how this goes. But it's like meaning, importance, and what's the third one? Impact. So like, I'm very curious. Everything they say, I'm trying to find out, like, what do they mean by that? What do they make that mean? What's the meaning for them about that? Importance. What's important to them about that? What makes that important to them in this moment? And then, what did I say? Impact. Yeah. So when they share something, what is the impact of that for you? What is the impact for you about that right now? So I'm taking it back to the present moment a lot. So those are kind of 3 areas that I really hone in on. I also do a lot of what I call second layer inquiry. So I'm paying attention to what they're saying. I'm paying attention to anytime they're having a new awareness or insight show up, or to where it sounds like they've expressed something that they may not have expressed fully. And I do a check-in on that second layer. So what they're thinking and feeling about the expressed thoughts and feelings. So what are you noticing as you share that? How does it feel to say that out loud? What comes up for you just in hearing yourself say that type of thing? What's happening for you right now as you express that? I do a lot of that when I don't know, and that actually prompts a whole new level of awareness and insight. So I love not knowing, actually. Like Mike said, it allows me to really get in there, and I feel like I'm in the pocket with them as their coach. I'm really right there with them rather than in my own head. So
the one thing I'll say really quick, I'm sorry, Mike, I see you. The one thing I'll say really quick is that when I was doing more business advising and marketing advising, when I would sit in the coaching chair, I hated to be coaching business because it was so hard to take the business advisor hat off and put the coach on, because I had so much knowledge in my brain, right? So it is so much easier when I don't have all that knowledge to just genuinely be there and be curious. And so I find that coaching in those spaces where I have been an expert at one time or another is sometimes the hardest place for me to coach and stay in the coaching and not switch gears to the advising. And that's where it becomes a lot harder for me as a coach to coach. And so definitely something where if I'm choosing to coach, I'm preferring not to coach in business. I would rather not know at all.
Right.
There's one thing I did want to mention from that Mike was talking about, and both you guys were talking about, you have brought up curiosity to some degree and everything. However, I do think that there is a distinction, and correct me if I'm wrong, that comes up when, and it might be more PCC versus ACC, I'm not sure, which is why I said correct me if I'm wrong, that how we can be curious, but we want to make sure we are not being curious for ourselves. We're always being curious for the sake of the client. And I would love for one of you guys to sort of explain what that means.
Yeah, I would say, because I always say curiosity cured the coach. And I say when you're curious, I'm bringing Jen. I wrote that down, by the way, and I said me because it's MII.
Yes, MII.
I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm using that. Oh my God, I'm using that. And so right here, and Troy does a good job too in classes where we talk about, okay, what is the importance and the meaning behind you doing a certain thing? So for coaches, pause for a moment, lean into your curiosity, but not curiosity just for curiosity's sake, to connect the dots. As we are working continuously on closing the gap for the client, what is it that now I can answer? Like I said earlier, right? I don't know about this thing. So, again, I'm helping myself, but most importantly, I'm connecting the dots towards where the client is wanting to go, right? So it's thinking about, okay, what is the purpose of this line of questioning or, investigating, deconstructing, I like to say, because we peel back the layers from this onion. So I would say just keeping in mind, have that thought in the back of your mind of the client. And one of the things I wanted to add, and before we leave the topic, Jen, answer this, you can answer this part too, but I wanted to put this out there for all 3 of us, anybody can answer. But before we move, I want to say this, Jen, like people will hear this. And so as a facilitator sitting in class all the time, it's what we just said, you and I both just said, is so much easier said than done. And so one of the things I wanted us to just highlight before we go to the next topic, whenever, is like, what do you say to that new coach though? Where, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I want to make sure that I'm helping them. And if I don't help them what they need and I don't know it, then I look, inadequate or whatever. So it's like that encouragement to the new coaches who, Mike and Jen, yeah, I hear what y'all are saying. Y'all got those alphabet soup behind your name. What about me? I'm starting out, right? So just a thought I want to put out there before we move from the topic.
I mean, I know exactly what I'm saying, but I think Jen probably has a response.
So this is so interesting that this is brought up, because I love this topic so much, and I was recently trying to I like to conceptualize things in a breakdown, and so I actually put curiosity into 4 different categories that serves the coach, not the client. And so I call the first one soothing curiosity, and that's curiosity that reduces the coach's anxiety about them being useful in the conversation. So if you're asking a question from that place, that's not necessarily for client-centered, that's for you. The other one I thought of was guru curiosity, and that's where you're trying to figure them out. So you're asking questions to really figure them out so you can reflect, okay, so what you're saying is this, and you're trying to puzzle piece everything together when really that's the client's job and you're doing it for them. And then there's nosy curiosity, which is curiosity that's satisfying your own personal interest as a coach. So what did he say when you said that? That is nosy curiosity. And then
Right.
And then finally I decided that there's needy curiosity, and that is curiosity that helps the coach feel smart or good. So there are some times when we might ask a question that is based on, if they answer this question, I'm going to feel smart or good, and that's not client-centered. So the client-centered curiosity is about trying to help the client understand themselves better. And this, for the new coach, is where simplicity comes in. To help a client understand themselves better, the simpler questions are what is most effective in these moments. All of these complex questions are going to confuse the client. And so for a new coach, I would say, consider reflecting on your curiosity. Try to figure out, did I ask that question for me, or did I ask that question to help my client understand themselves better? And the understanding themselves better is typically very simple. And I hate to say it, but it's true, repetitive. I ask the same questions over and over and over because they are meaningful, they are powerful, they are impactful, and I'm in the moment with the client and the question is appropriate. And a lot of my sessions sound very similar because of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. So a new coach, you don't need to have this big repertoire of questions. Just have a nice sample size of deep, powerful questions and stay right with your client and keep it simple and help them understand themselves better. You don't need to understand them. They need to understand them. That's what matters.
I love that, Jen. And also speaking into that feeling of that Mike mentioned of a new coach feeling like they need to add value, or they need to be valuable when they're sitting in the coaching chair. And a lot of times they feel like that value comes from them sharing their wisdom, their advice, their knowledge, and their previous experience. And what I would say, and so what they panic about is, well, if I'm not giving those things, then how am I adding value? And what I would say to that coach is that you're adding value by coach, that they're there to be a coach, right? And coaching is in itself valuable. And so what you need to do as a coach is give that value to coaching and the coaching process. We need to take that feeling and you're taking all of this feeling of applying. Okay, well, my value comes from all of this stuff. But once you are a trained coach and you're sitting in a coaching chair, that has changed, and your value now comes from you being a coach, being capable of coaching and knowing how to coach. And that is what the value you bring, right? That's how you are selling yourself. That is what you're putting out there, is you are coaching. You're not doing other things. So give coaching and the art of coaching, the practice of coaching, value, and realize it has tremendous value. And so stepping into the room as a trained coach, as a coach that has practiced this skill and done the work, and there is a tremendous amount of value to that. And I think it is harder for somebody to understand when they haven't maybe experienced the growths that come from coaching. They haven't experienced it on both sides. And so maybe it's a little harder for them to understand that there is just so much value in stepping into a space where you aren't going to be told what you should do. You aren't going to be told how to be. You aren't going to be guided in a specific direction, but you really, it's entirely up to you. And there is something very empowering about that. There's something very authentic about it for the client, where they get to go in and be themselves. And that's sometimes why it's scary. That's maybe sometimes why the I don't know comes up, right? Because it's the first time that they're in a space where they get to actually be themselves. And so they don't know. They're used to being out there and people pleasing and answering the way that's going to get them the smile or the approval but when they're finally in a space where they have to figure it out on their own, the I don't know comes up at first, but then once you get past that, it's so empowering because you realize all of the things you do know and what you're capable of. And then it's authentic to you and not to somebody else. Right. So that's what I would say. I mean, I don't know if a brand new coach would understand that, but that's what I would tell them for sure.
I love it. And I mean, honestly, just what both of y'all said, both mic drop moments. Honestly, I'll remind coaches, it ain't about you. Simply put, right? It's not about you. It's about the coach. I mean, the client. It's not your journey. You know, we say, not me, not mine. It's not your journey. It's not your problem to solve in the first place. And it's not your aha moment. Right? So keep it simple. It's not about you.
And this is where the give a man a fish versus teach a man to fish analogy or metaphor, whichever one it is, comes in. It's like, if you can hold the client capable and they can solve their own problem, what is that going to do for them when they have a new problem? Versus if you solve their problem for them, what is that going to do when they have a new problem? They are leaving with a skill set that is more empowering and allowing them to recognize their own capability versus you telling them what to do. They do it, and then they're dependent on being told what to do. So that is the value of coaching, is that it's a conversation that empowers people and shows people how capable they are.
I love it. All right. I think it feels good. I think we can move on to our third topic today. And the third thing we are talking about, and it's the one that maybe is you thought about first when we said coaching through obstacles, or I did, which was how do I coach when I myself, the coach, am having a bad day? And I'm going to take it one step further in this, because I think a lot of coaches who are starting out have an imposter syndrome situation, or they think that they don't have their life perfectly together. So how are they going to coach somebody else when they haven't figured some things out, or lots of things out on their own? And I think, you know, it's with what we've been talking about, it should start to make sense. But so talking into that space of how do I coach when maybe I don't feel ready to coach. I don't feel well. I don't feel, you know, all of these things. What do you do? How do you handle that? Mike?
I'm gonna go with the worst case scenario first. The worst case scenario is, you know, we always hear the analogy of put your mask on first on the planes, right? You have to take care of yourself to be able to help and show up for others, right? And you're giving so much of yourself. You're doing something different than what you would normally do when you show up to that coaching space. I always say I leave Mike at the door and I let Coach Mike enter the coaching space. So the worst case scenario, there are times when it's just not the time for you to coach, right? That's worst case scenario. So always keep that in mind. Sometimes you just have to know that, okay, just have a real conversation with excuse me, with your client, and let's reschedule or whatever that may be. However, that's the worst case scenario, which again, in almost 7 years, I haven't had that happen other than travel or getting to a session and something happened on the way. But I would say start with the foundational thing of having a ritual, having a way where you settle yourself into the space of letting all your stuff go, because routine is so good with helping us to get ready to do a thing, right? So your routine every time when things are going good, even when it's going, great, and you feel like you don't need it, those are the times where now, okay, yeah, I need my little thing today. So I share that a lot of times too. I say, what is your thing that's going to help you prepare? Now, enter the same 2 steps we've been saying for the previous 2. I'm always going to say, number 1, slow down, breathe. One part of my little ritual I always like to do, I settle into the space, I'll breathe, I'll sit with myself, make sure I'm giving myself the time, and I'll say, Mike, what do you need in this moment? Right? Keeping in mind that I'm about to have this conversation with the client, something that's important to them. And watch this. What if they bring something heavy to the session today? So I'll say, Mike, what do you need in this moment? Check on me. That is me put on. And so it's one of those things where I check in with myself first to see what I need. And the other thing is this, it's like, know yourself, right? Know thyself. Sometimes where it's like, okay, this is a typical day where I've had a lot going on, but hey, now I have my ritual, my routine. I'm going to sit, I'm going to, breathe. I'm going to check in with myself, journal, whatever I need to do. And then other times, it's going to be a little bit different. So I would say tap in and check in with yourself, especially on those harder days, and do what you need to do, right? Do what you need to do. And sometimes it's just about decompressing as well, before and after the session. So after that session, write down how it went. Now you get a chance to know next time I do need a little bit longer, or next time I need my tea, or I need something else, right? So I would say that, and notice how I did start with that worst case scenario, because sometimes I think it could be detrimental if we try to work through a session. This is from the coach or client's perspective. If you try to work through a session when you just know all your faculties, your attention is not going to be there, then I think that would be more damaging to the client than, saying, hey, let's reschedule. So that's why I started with the worst case, but that's how I would tackle it in terms of when you're having a bad day, which I don't have.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, my go-to is transparency. So I let my client know I'm sick. I have tried to get myself together. I cannot get to a place where I can confidently say I can hold space for you today. I'm just honest. This is very rare. But it happens. If I am too sick to really attune to my client, I will let them know. And then I will give them the choice too, because sometimes it's iffy. Sometimes it's like, I'm sick, but I can still show up for you. If you need it, I can do it. I can pull it together. I don't know that I'm going to be the best service provider, but I'm here for you. And I let them choose. So if I'm having so that's worst case scenario. If I'm having a bad day, couple things. I keep in mind that my life does not have to be perfect in order for me to coach. My life does not have to be great in order for me to coach. I'm allowed to have problems. I'm allowed to have stress. I'm allowed to have, my own stuff, and I can still coach. So my go-to questions are, can I hold space for someone today? Do I want to hold space for someone today? Am I willing to hold space for someone today? And sometimes those answers are not all congruent. Sometimes the answer is no, I don't want to, but I'm willing to. And as long as I'm willing to, I will. As long as I can and I'm willing, I will. I don't have to want to. That's okay. I know that I can step into the room and I can leave, like Mike said, Jen at the door, and Coach Jen can take over. And to be quite honest with you, when I'm having a bad day, that is actually a relief for Jen to leave her at the door and let Coach Jen run the show. Because Coach Jen is a much clearer, calmer human than regular Jen. So a lot of times it's a relief how grateful I am that I get to step into a space with somebody and let the entire focus of my life in that moment be on that person. What a gift that is for me when I'm having a bad day. So sometimes it works actually well. It balances. But at the end of the day, the big words that stand out for me are capacity, checking in. What do I have the capacity for? And then self-care. If I am iffy about my capacity, okay, what self-care do I need to create the capacity to do so? So it's just a lot of truth and transparency with myself, a lot of checking in, and a lot of coaching myself, asking myself those critical questions, and then making a decision, and then honoring the decision. And knowing whatever happens, say I make a mistake or I say something awkward, or I don't know, all these things that can happen where I kind of reflect and go, ooh, that wasn't great. It's okay. I allow all of that to be okay. I'm willing to show up imperfectly, reflect on it, learn and grow from it, and then maybe adjust my capacity going forward based on whatever happens. So it can be done, but you definitely need to assess the level of bad. What a bad day to me and a bad day to somebody else are going to be very different things. So my ability to coach through my bad days is incredibly personal to me. And I would not say that I would recommend anyone else doing that. It's all about that self check-in and paying attention to yourself and your needs.
And what I'm hearing is both of you speak in this space is that this also is something that comes, I think, with learning, right? As we get out there and as we start to do this practice and start to do these things, I know I certainly I learned a lot along the way. As I pushed my own boundaries or somebody else pushed a boundary or something like that, I then learned, okay, wait, this is what works for me, this what doesn't. And it's sometimes as simple as, for me, I need a buffer between my meetings. I need a chance to stand up. I need a chance to grab water. I need a chance to do what I need to do before I sit back down and I get back into a meeting. Other people will take them back to back to back to back, right? That's just how they handle. So like, it's going to be different how you handle things. And that's a learning, right? And I think in these spaces too, it becomes a learning. How much am I capable of compartmentalizing in this space, and when am I not able to? And again, all of that comes with learning too. And I'll say in the same space, there was other boundaries or things I learned along the way, right? That there are certain things that my clients can do that can make my day not as great. And so I started setting boundaries in those spaces. And what I mean by that is if I have a client that is a constant no-show and doesn't communicate with me about it, and so I'm sitting there waiting for 10 minutes, my time, I'm present, you start to create boundaries around those things that come up. And that is to make sure that I'm able to keep coaching and showing up for other people and not start to feel resentful and have other things come up for me. So like there's a lot of learnings that comes up in that space. We talked a lot about how to show up and everything. The one thing that I don't know that I heard a big answer to is what do you say to those new coaches that don't know if they are ready, if they are good enough, how do they coach and help other people solve their problems when they have problems? And what do you say to that, coach? And I think this will be where we wrap it up today. So
I would throw on my coaching hat and start asking coaching questions, right? Like the first thing I will ask and this probably have happened before is, when do you think you'll be ready? Right? When do you think you'll be ready? Right? How long, how much practice, how much time do you think it'll take for you to be ready? And then the other thing is, you know, as you're preparing, as you're stepping out to something new, I tell people, reflect. Think about when you started anything else new, right? How did it feel at first? You know, you didn't just start it and it's like, oh my God, it was perfect. A new job, a new school, a new anything, right? A new outfit. You try it on, you may wear it a couple of times before you just feel good about it. So keeping it simple. And I will say, you know, when do you think you'll be ready? What is missing, right, for you to feel ready? What is it that you're feeling that makes you feel that you're not quite ready, right? And then the other thing is, right, if you, for that coach who thinks, well, you know, I got to have all my stuff together, I got to do all the things, right? You know, I talk often, a lot of times I hint on in class that paralysis of analysis. You're thinking about all the things and all the stuff has to be ready in order for you to get started, and then so you just do nothing, and then it's another year, another 3 months, another 6 months if it's going by. So I would say, if you had to be perfect to help, then I don't think anybody will be helping others, right? Because I say this, there's no perfect person. So that means what? There's no perfect coach, there's no perfect client, there's no perfect session. And so then it goes back to just Mike, this is since high school. My motto has been, life is like Nike, just do it. So that's what I would say to encourage that coach starting out.
Yeah, I would say if you have solved one problem, if you have persevered through one thing, if you have done anything that allowed you to learn one lesson, then you're equipped to be a coach. That is what you're pulling from. You're not necessarily pulling from, you know, like, again, in my niche, I have knowledge in my niche, but I'm not pulling from that when I'm in the coaching space with them. Yes, my knowledge informs my questions. Yes, that is true. But I'm pulling from my own, you know, lessons. I'm pulling from my own resilience. I'm pulling from my, you know, I'm helping them to think in a way that would have been helpful for me had I had someone as I was going through stuff. So, you know, I just think about a friend of mine, her business is one step ahead, and it's about just being one step ahead to be able to help and guide and facilitate and partner. You know, it's like, you don't have to have it all figured out. You are allowed to have struggles in your life that you can't figure out, and that you are maybe needing support with yourself, and you can still support others on other things. You know, I also think about like Mike said, what do you need to feel ready? I like to frame it as like, what do you need to be doing? I consider it like active instead of what needs to be done. What do you need to be doing to feel like a coach? So for me, it was, I needed to be listening to coaching audiobooks regularly. That's just part of my life. That's just a practice. That's just what I do. It makes me feel like a coach. I listen to coach audiobooks. You know, also, like, I write stuff down. I kind of write out different frameworks of thinking. You know, I take myself seriously as a coach in my life, and that helps allow me to coach others. It sounds simple, but it's, what do you need to be doing to feel like you're doing enough to coach? You don't have to have it done. You can be doing it. You can be in the process of doing it to be ready. So I would just take that a step further.
I think we lost Mike.
I think we lost Mike. That's okay. We're finished. Oh, there he is. He's back. Well, I think that about wraps up our stream, everybody. I will say the one thing that I have to say in that space is the gift of coaching is that we don't have to have expertise outside of coaching, outside of knowing how to coach, right? That is the expertise. That is what we have to be an expert in, is knowing how to coach and the practice of coaching. And so do what you need to feel confident in being able to sit down and coach. And I realize that can be a lot of things, but I think that the advice that Jen and Mike gave today were wonderful. I'm going to switch that we're all three on the screen right now and just say thank you guys so much for being here. It's been wonderful having you.
And the next time we go live, we will talk even deeper into what it is to be a coach. What is being a coach? The embodiment of a coach. And Mike already tested the waters with that today when he talked about slowing down, tone, cadence. It's not just the words. It's not just the question. It is your embodiment of the question. So we have more coming for new coaches.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, everybody out there. Please make sure you like and share, and also check out Certified Life Coach Institute if you want to learn how to be a coach. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Mike. And I hope everybody out there has a wonderful day.